CNN clip, veterans slam Trump for this border stunt. And this was, the border. The migrants are coming up from Central America and to the Mexican border. Well, they're in Mexico now, rather. They're going through Mexico and trying to get into the United States. So we have a clip on that.
No, and the other clip is...
Want to do them both?
Yes.
The other CNN clip is Pentagon rejected request for troops to act as emergency law enforcement at the border.
As President Trump heads to Pittsburgh, facing criticism on his inability to unite the country following a week of violence, he's now working hard to change the conversation.
We're the only country in the world where a person comes in, has a baby, and the baby is essentially a citizen of the United States for 85 years with all of those benefits. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it has to end.
The president proposing to change the Constitution, one he pledged to uphold.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States.
By ending birthright citizenship with an executive order.
It was always told to me that you needed a constitutional amendment.
Right.
Guess
14th
what?
Amendment.
You don't.
You don't.
Except you do, according to constitutional scholars. Why? The 14th Amendment states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. If the president does sign an executive order, it is likely to be immediately challenged in court. Some in Trump's own party already saying trying to change the Constitution is a bad idea.
You cannot end birthright citizenship with an executive order.
Constitutional reality aside, the political bottom line is Trump is appealing to his base by changing the topic to one of his signature issues, immigration. The administration also announcing it would deploy more troops to the southern border, even though a large group of migrants are weeks away from arriving.
I called up the military. This caravan is not, they're wasting their time. They are not coming into the country.
What's the military going to...
Trump is sending 5,200 active duty troops to join the 2,092 National Guard troops already on the U.S.-Mexico border. Altogether, that's more than the total number of troops serving in Iraq. But a week before the midterm elections, Trump argues the move isn't political.
When you looked at that bridge loaded up with people, that's called an invasion of our country. This has nothing to do with elections.
The Pentagon rejecting a Department of Homeland Security request for U.S. troops to perform emergency law enforcement functions on the border. CNN's Ryan Brown joins me now live from the Pentagon. He's breaking the story. Ryan, what are you hearing from your sources?
Well, Jake, officials are saying that the Department of Defense turned down a Department of Homeland Security request for active duty troops to kind of serve as a reserve force that would protect Customs and Border Patrol officials while they perform their duties, that could provide riot control, traffic control, those kind of functions. The Department of Defense turning that request down, we're being told, because they did not feel that active duty troops, that's Title X forces that are going down to the border, have the inherent authority to perform law enforcement functions on U.S. soil. So they asked the Department of Homeland Security to go back to the White House to see if they really needed this, to work with the White House to grant U.S. military, grant the Department of Defense additional authorities to perform law enforcement on U.S. soil. Now, this is, of course, a long-standing legal issue, posse comitatus, whether or not U.S. forces can perform these functions, even in extreme situations. So this is why the request was turned down. It's not clear whether or not the White House is considering granting those additional authorities. But again, over 8,000 U.S. troops staging, getting ready to deploy to the border. Some of these forces DHS wanted to perform this law enforcement function. That request, for now, turned down by the Pentagon.
All right, Ryan Brown, thanks for bringing us that breaking news. We appreciate it. Quickly.
We thank CNN.
We do.
For those clips. This is just unbelievable. Who wants to start off? Colonel, you want to?
Boy, I think what we really need to do is be sending troops to the Canadian border to stop American citizens from wanting to leave.
Yeah.
Because,
Cute.
I think it's a total waste of money, effort. It's a travesty because our soldiers are standing ready for decades to go to war for a purpose and to defend this country. And this is an insult, and you're taking away veterans, some of who have spent from the Vietnam era time frame, people who are still in, who have been going to Iraq, Afghanistan, 4 or 5 tours. You're going to rip them away from their families again for this nonsense. They're trying to cope with their medical issues, with PTSD, with what the government should be doing for them, instead of giving them a worthless tour of duty across a border that doesn't need to be protected in this way. It is a total political ploy, and it's something that's why you don't want a commander-in-chief with the kind of intellect that this one does have.
Speaking of intellect, Ernesto, aren't you surprised? Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
For the president to say he can do these things, right?
Well,
they're totally constitutionally impossible.
To issue an executive order, to get back to the first clip we had,
sure,
about him issuing an executive order to change the Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dangerous. The next thing you know, the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, he'll try to change that one.
Yeah.
Let's reinstitute slavery and take their voting rights away. So, I mean, that is, but the problem is that he stacked the courts. He's stacking the courts right now, the district courts, the courts of appeals, and he stacked the Supreme Court. So you don't know where this is going to fall. I mean, he does something crazy. He does it in a way that may be a little questionable as to the constitutionality of it, and it goes all the way up. And he's got Kavanaugh there, and he's got Gorsuch, and he's got his other people there, Roberts and Alito and Thomas. They are the ultimate arbiters here. And so he never know. He's going to do some crazy stuff now that his Supreme Court is set.
I tell you,
and it's going to go.
Gets that far,
it's dangerous.
I'll be going to war again.
Yeah,
I will be going to war again. I will do that. Anybody listening? Do you think, Rochelle, that he really means this, or is just a play to his base now? Because they got problems in the next couple of days, with the election.
I think he actually means it because he has no concept of what he does. That's the first thing. And then, it's like he tweets in the middle of the night. He just wakes up, like the time that he was appointed the doctor. It was his own doctor, and he appointed the doctor to that position, basically, when he was ineligible, really, to be in that position. So we can expect different things from him. We already know that now. We know what kind of person he is. We know that he does not have values or morals or any concept of human nature things that will keep our troops safe. And their families.
I'm just wondering, actually, Glenda, whether he really means these things or he's just going around because this is going to get his base going. I'm wondering. I don't think really the man is that stupid.
I don't either.
I don't either. I don't think he's that stupid to think that he can do this. But I think that those people who are primarily on his side are as stupid as he is in many instances.
Okay.
And
but he'll test the waters.
Yeah.
He'll
yes, absolutely. What do you think?
His focus is midterms in 2020. He's already announced on Facebook and other social media apparatuses that he's running for re-election, and so this is not about those.
Well, it's
people.
not election. I'm talking about the election. The midterm.
Yes, which is Tuesday.
Yes.
But he's also appealing to his base for 2020.
Well, I don't think that's just what he's thinking about right now, because what he's got if he loses either house in the Congress, he's dead. He's dead meat. They will eat him up. That's what he's concerned about. That is more.
Well.
In fact, if he doesn't do this, 2020, he can forget about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Cliff, one of the things I'm most worried about is the spillover from this, because we are living from the day-to-day, African-American men and women, especially if they're in low-wage jobs, are working under some of these very same people he's stoking these fears up in. And we don't even know what the repercussions are on these families, on these teenagers, on people who are going through the court system. And it's just his play on this is just a game for him, but it's a real-life situation for people on the street every day.
Yeah.
And we need to give credit to the Pentagon for pushing back on that.
Yes.
Because had they been any weaker, you know what I'm saying? If there had been a weak person there, we could have lost that.
But this is what just stymies me. How can he issue? He says he's going to send these troops down there, and then the Pentagon not be on board with this? How can he has Homeland Security that's making this request? DOD. I mean, what kind of? You've got a chief of staff, Kelly.
So
how can this not be coordinated?
You sitting there perplexed like he listens
to them. But I'm saying you're the United States you're the president, and you've got Homeland Security saying one thing and DOD saying another.
Because he doesn't consult with them when he's doing stuff.
There's no,
and they know better.
That's what's so dangerous about his presidency. They don't. There's no coordination.
That's right.
No, and I thought that actually after it came up that was a problem.
Yeah.
That probably his Minister of Defense said, no, you can't do this. You know what I mean? After he had already said he was going to. Yeah.